Hello Whiskey Dreamers, welcome to Whiskey Whistle. I'm your host Mark and this is Whiskey Review number 94. We're looking yet again at Glen Garioch Distillery, and this time their former bottling, and the former entry level from the distillery called Glen Garioch 8-year-old, aged 8 years. Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. This is the current form of the entry level from the distillery, and this is the former. Okay, so we'll get to compare those a little bit. And first of all, let's get that poured, shall we? And get that out of the way. This is 40% ABV, and as such, it is likely. What I got there? It's likely something in the bottom of my Glen Cairn. There. Okay. It's likely had a little bit of chill filtration and possibly a little bit of color added, as was the standard of the time. This is likely a bottling from between the years 2005 and 2009. This was likely their first offering after reopening. I guess there was a bit of a closure round about 1997, thereabouts. So reopened 1997, and the first 8-year-old released thereafter. So anyway, sometime between 2005 and 2009. And this is a loaner bottle from my Auntie Adrian, and if she's watching, thank you very much, Auntie Adrian. And I believe she probably picked this up here at the Liquor Mart in Manitoba, probably within, sometime around 2012 or 13, thereabouts. Possibly even late 2014, because this was 2014 Christmas was the last time that I was over there and was able to try this lovely whiskey. Okay, so let's get on to the nosing. Now, I've already talked quite a bit about Glen Garioch, so we'll get right into the nosing and the tasting. And if you're interested, please do look at the previous review. I'll put a link to that at the end of this review for 1797 Founders Reserve, the current bottling from the distillery Glen Garioch. Okay, again, I've poured a healthy, probably 35 or so milliliters, and again, I can say that this whiskey is quite fragrant. Doesn't take a whole lot of nosing to really be able to smell it, and there's a lot of similarities here with the Founders Reserve. Now, from my research, it turns out that this is largely, or if not entirely, aged in ex-bourbon casks. And I find that slightly unusual because of the amount of dark fruits that I'm getting here. But again, that may be the distillery character coming through as opposed to the effect of maturation. Okay. What an odd bird I've got. There's a bluebird. Oh, a couple of them. Well. I don't know if you can hear that. A very odd chirping noise. Okay, let's get on to the nosing. We'll have a short advertisement right here. Welcome back. This is Glen Garioch, 8-year-old, aged 8 years. This is likely a bottling from roughly 7 years ago, 7 or 9 years ago, perhaps. No indication of bottling date on the bottle here, so pretty difficult to be able to figure that out. No. I have no idea what those numbers mean, other than it was bottled at 11:47 p.m. Okay, anyway, the nose. Again, lots of cherry. And here I'm getting both dried and fresh cherries. Cherry juice as well. For 40%, it's quite potent. So quite spicy. Other fruits that I'm getting some oranges, some banana, and a little bit of grapefruit as well. And it's got that, again, that mild peatiness to it, and a good dollop of honey. And maybe more of a darker honey, like a wildflower or perhaps a manuka. Okay, on to the palate. Cheers all. Very fresh, and again sweet, then spicy and dry. I'm getting a fruit salad here, a fresh fruit salad, and again, there's a slight bit of effervescence or a slightly fizzy character to it. So it's kind of like a fresh fruit salad with a bit of club soda and 7-Up added in. Then you've got the honey and caramel note as well as vanilla coming through there. Now, if I didn't know that this was aged in bourbon, I would say there was a lot of sherry oak at play here. Interesting. Okay, how about the finish? Well, it's very fresh, lots of vanilla and honey, a little bit waxy, and something like mango peels is what I'm left with. So a little bit dry, a little bit sweet, a little bit tropical in the flavor. Very nice. Now, since this is just 40%, we will add just a touch of water, and I'm going to be talking about, let's say, just a few drops. 1, 2, yeah, very few drops there. That might have been 1/4 teaspoon or less. Okay, and we'll let that mix in. Boy, you'd think I was in the forest with the amount of birds that we have here going off in the trees. I still get that bit of peat here. I am noticing more dark fruits. Perhaps some nice black plums coming into play here. And also more honey. So it gets slightly sweeter. What a strange bird. And it chose to sit up here in this tree. There's 2 of them. 2 bluebirds, I believe. Anyway. Okay, how about the finish? Oh, we already talked about that one. Okay, it's with water now. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. Okay, on to the nose with water. Already talked about the nose, my goodness. Okay, let's get on to the palate. Now, I think I forgot to cue for the advertisement, so we'll have one right here. Okay, welcome back. Glen Garioch, the former bottling, 8 years old, 40% ABV. How does it taste? Well, getting a slight leather note coming through, and something like a coffee candy. You know, like one of those cappuccino type of candies. Toffee. Just a hint of bitterness. And again, this slightly coffee-esque flavor that I'm noticing here. The finish, well, it's largely the same. Again, I'm left with a little bit more of a drying effect in my mouth. But flavor-wise, again, it's still just vanilla and honey. A little bit of this tropical mango, but the peel aspect of it. Slightly waxy mouth feel as well. Well, so that was Glen Garioch, the former bottling, the 8-year-old. Now, how about the Whiskey Whistle score for this one? There's something I quite like about this. It's very easy drinking. It's very, very, well, as people would say, smooth. And yet it's got more than enough fruit and more than enough strength despite its 40% ABV. So, this one will be tied with the new bottling, the 1797 Founders Reserve, at 87 out of 100. Okay, and I think people who love the real sherried whiskies, the sherried scotches, could really well enjoy Glen Garioch, the older bottlings. And likely, if this one tastes as dark fruit as it does, probably the older ones will even accentuate that even further. So I would be interested in trying the older bottlings with a longer age statement, older age statement. Anyway, so 87 out of 100, that is the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for Glen Garioch 8-year-old former bottling. Okay, all right, now let's compare new and old a little bit side by side here. Okay, all right, so we've got the former right there and the new. And what's going on here? Well, one thing, I can see a little bit of the Scotch mist happening here in the glass. So there's a slight hazing effect there. I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera. Color-wise, they're largely identical. And again, no mention on either bottling about color, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay. Noses. The current one I've already mentioned. Cherries as well as oranges, bananas, bit of grapefruit. Slightly peaty, honey at play, and accentuated dark fruits with plums with water added. This has a bit of water added. And the most recent bottling, a lot more cherry, slightly peatier than the new one, and I believe that may be because of the higher strength. And perhaps a fresher wood effect is going on here. And something that is happening in the Scotch whiskey industry, which has come to be known as bourbonization. So this may have a little bit more of the new oak happening in the glass. Okay. This is a little bit sweeter overall. This one a little bit more spicy. How about the taste? Again, a fruit basket. Lots of honey. Very nice. And the former one, we'll take a sip of water beforehand. Again, this powerful cherry effect. And now that I taste them side by side, I do notice a lot more active wood going on here in the Founders Reserve, the 1797 Founders Reserve. Okay, let's go back to the original, the former. A little more delicate, a little bit more subtle. Both lovely. If I were to go out and buy one, if they were both available, I'd probably buy the new one because of the higher strength and the natural presentation, and even though it is a little bit one-sided with the cherry that I'm noticing here, it's really powerful, really potent, and really, really nice in my opinion. Okay, so 1797 Founders Reserve. That is something definitely to go in and pick up if you haven't tried it yet. Okay, 87 out of 100 for the older one, the new one, I should say, Founders Reserve. 87 out of 100 for the former, and a lot more active wood, a lot more cherry in the new one, and a little bit more subtle fruit, a little bit more varied fruit for the former bottling. Okay, now as it has become customary here on Whiskey Whistle, we're going to mix them and see what happens. Of course, we don't have time to allow for proper marriage, but we can at least let a little bit of alchemy happen here. Let's see. The composite nose. Well, a little bit more balanced now, not just cherries, but you got all those other fruits at play now. Slightly more honeyed. And the palate. Whew. Very fruity. Whew. You've got the dryness really kicking in here, and the wood, new wood happening from the new bottling. The older wood, the traditional, we'll call it traditional Scotch whiskey casks at play here, which could be second fill, possibly third, and largely bourbon, or all bourbon from the former, and likely a mix of bourbon and sherry casks from the new. And the result, I don't know if it's an improvement. It's different. It's a good mix of both. It's still definitely Glen Garioch. Of course it is, because it's a mix of the two Glen Garioch. It's now likely simply 8 years old, because I'm guessing all the whiskey in this one is older than 8. That would be my guess. Well, it's nice. It's a good experiment, a little bit different, nice mix of old and new. And if you've got a new bottle and an old bottle, try mixing them and see what you think, and let me know. Okay? Leave me a comment. Please like the video, and if you haven't subscribed yet to WhiskyWhistle, I'd be very, very pleased if you would. I love interacting with those who subscribe, or anyone, whether you do or you don't. You can leave me a note, and I tend to respond within a few hours, okay? So you can subscribe by clicking the link right down there, and stay tuned for what's coming next. There's lots to come right here from Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada. Take care, everybody.